Okay, I had a question come in response to the question I post on the Further Emergence Instagram feed. And the question is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing in your spiritual life at the moment? And this person says, currently being in a relationship with someone who does not have similar spiritual beliefs. I am very spiritual. My partner has no idea what he believes. Even after many years of being together, when I tried to get him to open up about what he believes, he just says he doesn't know. But he finds my belief in many things silly. I find it hard to believe that he cannot express his beliefs because he's a pilot, or he was a pilot, and he's a poet, yet he's clueless about his body, his place in the spirit and the spiritual world. He is a karmic partner and not my twin flame. I don't know how much longer I'll remain in this relationship, as I feel I've learned all my lessons from it. So, there's a lot there. The first thing that I kind of have to work backwards through it. The first thing that stands out is this idea of a karmic partner and a twin flame. Those are lovely ideas, but I found they can be a bit limiting. It's like the idea of the one, you can spend a lot of time looking for the one. And in my experience, the one is the mystery. And the mystery comes through different people. And different people are covered by their unconsciousness in different ways. And it's the same thing coming through. And that's the same thing that we love. So many bodies, one thing. So if you get sort of into the whole thing of like, I have to find the one, I haven't found that to be the case. I've found a lot of people sort of waiting with the big long kind of shopping list or a kind of projection of, similarly to what we do with ourselves, kind of going, there's an ideal version of me, and if I could just be that version, then everything would be great. Not just accepting and having compassion for who you actually are. We kind of project that onto the idea of the one. And it's like, oh, the one is this, a big shopping list of things. So, the idea of a twin flame, it's kind of similar to the idea of the one. The idea of a karmic partner is a nice way of saying this person's going to teach me things, drive me nuts. I'm going to have some hard lessons from this person. And that's the soul contract we have. But you could say that about everybody. Everybody's your karmic partner if in that way. So those kind of ideas, I think they get in the way. I think they limit. They sort of make us narrow and kind of, well, let's see now, are you my twin flame? Because if you're my twin flame, you can get away with a lot more than if you're my karmic partner. If you're karmic partner, it's like we've got a number of lessons to go through, and when we get through them, I'm out of here. Which isn't very loving, isn't very compassionate, and isn't really in it. You're not kind of in it. You've got an escape clause of like, they're not really my partner. I'm not really here for love. I'm really here for lessons, But there's loads of personal development courses you could go on that would do the same thing, I don't think it's fair to each other to think like that. So there's that. Then, the whole thing of like being with someone who doesn't have the same spiritual beliefs as you. I know that can feel very lonely. But then the spiritual life is kind of lonely because ultimately it's kind of you and between you and you. And like some of the aspects of religion is a sense of community. We share the same beliefs and we, read from the same book. And that can be lovely if that's your thing. And often what happens when you get into consciousness and the spiritual life, and that's not in the kind of religious context, it can be you can feel like you're on your own. And you want to have someone to talk to about things. And that's common. Like, I get that from a lot of people. And you know, there's kind of a thin line between whether that's to do with your relationship and what's going on in your relationship, or to do with your spiritual life and what's going on in your life and consciousness. It's hard to tell. Because if it's in your relationship, it could be bowling, you know. You're really into bowling and your partner isn't, and you can't talk to them about your bowling, you know. You'd feel the same way. So you'd have to kind of pull that apart and kind of go, is this to do with there's just a bit of a mismatch going on here and it's a communication issue, or is it that I'm in a different space? I'm in a completely different space. I see things so differently to the person I'm with all the time. We used to see things the same, but now my reality is very different. And their reality is bumping up against mine, and we've got friction between us that we never had before. And what does that mean? And what's going to happen? So I think with everything in relationship, whether it's your loving partner or your family or your kids or whatever, if you use love as your guiding light, go, what's the loving thing here? What's the truly loving thing to do here? And keep surrendering to that, then it's amazing how much gets sorted out in a loving way, you know, not in a fractious, difficult, backstabbing, fighting, knockout, dragging each other around kind of way, but in a loving way. And you'll discover yourself doing things you never thought possible for love. And my experience anyway, when you do things for love and you do it from love, everything gets taken care of. Still difficult, but I wouldn't just go, we're not on the same page spiritually, and they're not opening up and they're not whatever. There's so many things you can do together. There's so many great resources, relationship resources. There's so many terrible resources as well, so of course you've got to be discerning. But there's so many great tools for communication between couples now that weren't around before, that you can keep shopping around and keep, you know, the great thing is you can see lots of different kind of therapists online to help you with that now that you couldn't do it before. But, you know, that's if you both want to go. I mean, you might say it to your partner and they're like, no, I don't want to go to a therapist. And then you're kind of like, because you might be going, oh, well, I'm going deeper into love here. But, and you feel like lots of things happening and lots of progress going on. But if you're in a rowboat with somebody and you have one oar and they have another oar and you're rowing like big time and it's really hard, and you know, you can look, you're seeing movement. Yeah, okay, I'm really rowing. Then you look over and your partner's doing nothing. They're not even holding the oar, and you realize you've just been going around in a circle. That can be happening as well. So partners, relationships, it's great for bringing up lots of stuff to do with what's going on with you in your spiritual life. Gives you an opportunity to surrender to love. There's no easy one answer fits all, except this thing of make love your focus. If you make love your North Star, and when I say like, what's the loving thing to do here, I mean, what's your inner nature saying to you? You know, we know, like, you know, you're in a fight. You've come up, something pops into your head like, oh my God, if I say this, I'm going to win the fight. But you know it's not true to you. It's true what you're saying, but you know it'll really hurt them. And that's how you'll win the fight. You'll shut them up. The love, if you stay with the love, you don't say it, which can feel like you're going to explode on the inside, because you know if you say it, you're going to win. And that'll, you know, you'll win the argument, but you'll also know that you won't be being true to yourself. And that is hard when you do things that, you know, outwardly successful, inwardly you're rotting on the inside. So if you stay true to love, even though you lose all the arguments, it doesn't matter. You're with love, you're with your own sweet nature, and it all gets taken care of.